Time to round up a big story. HISD is facing some big decisions in the new year. Superintendent Terry Greer leaves in March, and the school board is facing criticism for using millions of taxpayer dollars to cover a gap in construction projects. Voters approved $1.9 billion in bond money for HISD to build and renovate 40 schools. And we learned last month that HISD will be spending an extra $212 million on top of that. So why is there such a huge spending gap in the bond program? That's our topic this half hour. Joining us live in the newsroom is our panel, led by our senior legal analyst, Chris Tritico, our news analyst, Mustafa Tamiz, and conservative activist and attorney, Jared Woodfill. Also joining the panel is Rhonda Skillern-Jones, president of the HISD Board of Trustees. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Well, so glad that you all are talking about this today, because it got a lot of attention at the end of last year, sort of died down around the holidays, and people want to know what's going on with this.
There's a lot of issues, and so this is something we're going to start doing new on the roundup. Is when we have a really big issue like this, we're going to bring in a guest, and so we brought in our first guest, first time forever, Rhonda Skillern-Jones, president of the school board. Thank you for coming in.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
And as you know, I represent the Houston Federation of Teachers, and so I want to state that out there right now so that people don't think that I'm laying behind the log on this. Usually when I see you, I'm appearing before you and you're in charge. Well, guess what?
Tables turned.
That's right. So let me just throw the first question out. Terry Greer's leaving at the end of March. You've got to hire a search firm. What's the process look like, and what are you looking for in a new superintendent?
So Dr. Greer is leaving at the beginning of March.
Beginning of March.
And we have currently approved a search firm to begin to screen candidates and start to look for, build a profile on what we're starting to look for. And so for the city, we will have input meetings all over the city, and people will be allowed to say what they would like to see in a superintendent, and we'll combine those profiles with what the school board members think the profile should look like to come up with a final profile, and the search firm will be the firm that does that. And once that's done, we'll start to field applicants from both internal and external, and they will also go out and recruit applicants that fit that profile as well.
And we were talking off the air, you really hope to have this done sometime over the summer so the new superintendent can be in place before the school year starts.
That would be optimal for us to be able to get someone acclimated over the summer and into the seat by the fall.
Well, first, thank you for your service to school board. I think most people don't realize it's a voluntary position, and it's a tough job. It's 216,000 students. You and the board did an internal audit with this. What were your findings for the internal audit? And I know now you're looking to do an external audit for it. So what are you looking for in the external audit as well? So
the internal audit basically said that there were differing reasons from what the administration said for the gap in the bond dollars. And so we thought it would be a good idea to have an independent audit to come in and tell us who actually is more accurate on why there's the need for the extra spending.
And then what's the process? Like, when does the person, whatever the firm gets recruited in, and how long would that audit take?
So that firm has already been approved. They have already began to, I guess, gather the information on the audit. We actually have an audit committee meeting on Monday with the audit committee to give some guidelines to that firm.
Now, one of the things, hang on, Drew, one of the things that was floated was that the funding gap was due to inflation, and that's just, there isn't any inflation. That's just can't be true.
So I personally believe that there is inflation because it's just like with construction in the home markets and some of the other kind of institutions that are building. And the surrounding school districts we've checked with, personally, I have checked with, and they have inflation as well. A couple of them have even stopped.
So inflation
building.
In the building
so
area.
There is inflation, and we all understand that there is inflation.
Okay.
The controversial part is how much inflation is there really? Well, and that's the point that we need to settle with the audit.
Well, when you looked at the internal audit, what are some of the concerns that you saw that you said this is not right and that need to be addressed?
So I think there was some lag time in us getting started with the bond that caused us to deal with some of the inflation costs. I think if we had gotten out a little bit earlier with getting those projects up and started, so things like that. The things where the administration has said the numbers are high, I think as high as 36%, and our internal auditor has said significantly less. And that's, for me, the point that I need to get some clarification around, because I'm not a construction expert.
So I mean, if it's a $1.9 billion bond, it's 40 schools over, several years.
Yes.
There's naturally going to be an inflation in the mix.
Well, or a deflation.
Or a deflation,
depending
right.
on what's happening in the market.
So outside of, I think we talked about the new superintendent coming in. We talked about this new audit and then getting more governance around the contracting part. What are the next big priorities for HISD that you think have to be addressed?
I think superintendent funding. We are facing what we call a chapter, so in layman's terms, we will owe the state money next fiscal year. And we will have to find ways to cut our costs and trim our budgets to be able to write that check back to the state.
How
Go ahead.
How would you evaluate Dr. Greer's term as superintendent? I know he's been there for a long time, but if you look at the body of his work, what grade would you give him?
For the work,
Yeah.
we have 109 schools that are not performing at a level that they should be performing at, and we've never had that many before. So I don't give an A, B, C, D, F grade, because I don't want the legislature to do that to our schools, and they have, and so that's a point of contention for me. But we're not doing well as far as achievement is concerned. And achievement, while building buildings is a nice thing for kids, achievement is our priority, and we're just not doing that well right now.
We're going to have to leave it right there. Rhonda Skillern-Jones, thank you so much for coming in and helping
Thank you
us
for having me.
answer very important questions. Thank you very much.